episode 15. The enemies are at the gate. And they want Speed Force blood. So Godspeed has returned. And he's actually not the only return that we got in this episode. We did get a return from Caitlyn's boyfriend, not boyfriend, man crush, but Nora's back. The show opened with Nora West Allen. It opens with Barry at his job at CCPD. He's doing whatever it is that he's doing. And then all of a sudden, Nora walks into the crime lab. And then she's just like, hi, Dad. And then I was like, oh, shit. Like, it's Nora. And then Barry saw her. Then he got all emotional and he gave her a hug. And then Nora told him, she was like, don't worry, Dad. Everything's going to work out just like it's supposed to. And then I was like, well, shit, that could mean anything. But Barry took it as, they were going to give birth and Nora would be born and they would get to see her again. So then he woke up, I guess he was dreaming, whatever. And then he immediately called Iris. And then he was just like, yo, I think we're pregnant. Because Iris in this episode, like, they did this weird thing where Candace Patton obviously wasn't in the episode. I don't know why she wasn't in the episode, but she wasn't in tonight's episode. But they did this thing where he was talking to her like they were at the loft, they were at the house. And while Barry was getting ready for work, he was talking to her from the bedroom because apparently she wasn't feeling good and she was sick, which made him think that she was pregnant because she wasn't feeling too good. But the problem is he was saying things to her. And it's not like he just grabbed his stuff and he was like, hey, honey, so I'll check out the test results and I'll see you later. Bye. He was saying things to her that warrants a human being to actually give a response. So because Candace Patton wasn't in the episode, there was no Iris in this episode. Because she wasn't responding to the specific things that he was asking her, that just made it completely awkward. And they did that throughout the course of the entire episode. All they had to say was she was in another city, following up on a case or following a report or something. She got sick. She's at the hotel. Bam. They didn't have they tried to make it seem like she was there when she really wasn't there, and it was just very distracting. But anyway, he ends up taking her urine sample or whatever. Like, he's basically going to do a pregnancy test. So, he goes to Star Labs, he's at work. Cecile's like, oh, something's wrong with you, Barry. And he was like, nah, everything's good. And then when he's at CCPD doing the pregnancy test, Cecile walked in on him again, and then she was just like, oh, is that urine? and then she's like, I feel happiness. She's like, wait a minute. She's like, are you and Iris pregnant? And then he was just like, yeah. He's like, I think we're pregnant. And then she told him congratulations, and he was just like, oh, but we don't, I just have to do the test and find out. So he's like, he's all like giddy, he's all like jittery, or whatever. And Cecile knows, so now she's all happy. So now back at Star Labs, Chester's talking to Caitlin, Killer Frost, and then he tells Killer Frost that her boyfriend, he was actually commended because he turned over evidence to, to the government, which earned him his release, which is why he was out being like a metahuman bounty hunter. So Killer Frost's whole thing was like, that's bullshit. He's not gonna, he's gonna slip up sooner or later. And she was like, I'm gonna be there to bust his ass when he does. Chester, and I don't know if Chester, Killer Frost said she was gonna stalk him basically, and she found him at the bar where he used to work. When he was there, he was getting his ass beat, and then she came in and she saved him from getting his ass beat. And then when she asked him, she was like, oh, what are you doing here getting your ass beat? He basically said like, oh, he's like, you ever heard the term snitches get stitches? He ended up having like a gash on his side. So then reluctantly, Killer Frost ended up taking him to Star Labs so Caitlin can patch him up. Caitlin was actually about to do the surgery on Esperanza because remember in the last episode, they got the blueprints from the doctor that did what they did to Esperanza. So Caitlin was about to undo all that and give her voice back and give her life back. Esperanza was just like, oh, I don't trust these people. Then Allegra was like, oh, this is Team Flash. You could trust them, blah, blah, blah. So the two of them got in this whole big thing, and then she ended up talking her into it. So now we got Caitlin, Esperanza, and Allegra getting ready to do the surgery. Killer Frost brings the boyfriend back to Star Labs. Caitlin patched him up real quick, and now he's in the room, he's recovered, and the two of them are talking. So while Barry's out and about waiting for the test results to come in and while he's with Cecile, all of a sudden, like, he heard like this weird noise, and then he quickly like sped Cecile away from the window, and then like this huge gash of energy came in and it destroyed his crime lab. Come to find out, so now the Flash is on the street, and he gets ran up on by Godspeed. And not only did he get run up by one Godspeed, he got run up on by two Godspeeds. So now it's like two Godspeeds, and they know from before, they're just like, oh, these Godspeeds, they're like robot clones. So Barry's running around, he's trying to fight them, and then when he's out on the street, like more of them end up showing up. There's like four of them, and then he tells Chester, he's like, yo, I'm being chased by Godspeeds, and then Chester was just like, oh, what do you want me to do? And he said, put up the Star Labs force field. So then he goes running in, and then like Chester puts the force field up. Barry like slides under the force field. He's in Star Labs. Everybody's in Star Labs. Like Cecile, everybody in Star Labs. And then Barry awkwardly mentioned like, oh, I'm glad Iris isn't here and she's home safe. And I'm just like, but Godspeed is on the outside of the force field. Like if they know that you and Iris are together, they'll just go to your house and they'll kill her. So as I was like I said, it was just very weird how they kept referencing her. But but anyway, so now they're all trapped in Star Labs. There's a force field around Star Labs, and the Godspeed, there's like 4 or 5, 6 of them. The Godspeed clones are trying to break in now. So now they need to come up with a plan. Like, what's the plan? How are we gonna take down Godspeed? Killer Frost ended up talking to her boy. She was just like, listen, I don't need you to be an asshole or like a criminal. She's like, I actually need you to be a hero right now because I need help taking down these Godspeeds. And he's like, well, I'm not a hero. Then she was just like, well, then don't die. She's like, I need you to have my back just to make sure I don't die and to make sure you don't die. Because if these mother effers get in, they killing everybody. So it's like, all right, fine. Allegra, during the surgery, like Allegra and Esperanza, like Esperanza was like wigging out. And then Cecile used her new power where she can project her emotions onto other people to calm her down. And then Caitlin finished the surgery and the surgery went well. Barry and Chester, they were trying to figure out how to take down the Godspeed clones. And then when Chester was just like, I think I have an idea, but I'm gonna go work on it. So then Barry was like, all right, let me call Iris real quick. He had the awkward phone call with Iris, and then he was just like, oh, I'm glad you and the baby aren't here. I'm glad you guys are safe. And then Chester came out of nowhere. He was like, y'all pregnant? He's like, oh, snap. And then he was just like, yeah, but we don't want to say anything, until she's born. So if you could just keep it a secret. And then he was just like, what makes you think it's a she? He was like, did you meet this person already? And, Barry was basically going off the Nora thing. He was just like, yeah, he said that, like we're going to have a daughter. We already met her. But then Chester was just like, yeah, but there are different variables now. He said the fact that you're going to have a baby now could very well change the DNA and the genetics of the baby. He said you could end up having a boy now. He was like, different thing, crisis, like different things change, like crisis being one of them. He said there are so many variables, different outcomes, different timelines. He said you really can't just hold on to the fact that you're having a girl because you met this girl already in the in a previous season. Barry kind of thought about it. He was like, shit, you kind of got a point. He was like, that's actually a good point. But then Chester was just like, oh yeah, I forgot why I told you, why I came over here. He said that I came up with this idea because the Godspeed clones or robots, they were talking in like this cryptic, like, robotish, like, language. Chester said that he can record the language. He can hook it up to every cell phone speaker and sound system in Central City. He can play it back for them, and it'll scramble the Godspeed circuits long enough for Barry and them to take them down. But, so then Barry was just like, okay, cool. He was like, that's the plan, so let's do it. So Chester went to do the upload, and then while Chester was uploading everything, the Godspeed clones found a way to break the force field because they have this thing where they can shoot like this vacuum wave out to suck out the Flash's power, but they use that vacuum wave to suck out the energy of the force field. So now the Godspeed clones, they break into Star Labs. For some reason, none of them went into the room that Caitlin, Esperanza, Cecile, and Allegra were in, but they ran up on the Flash. They were fighting the Flash. They ran up on Killer Frost and Homeboy. They was fighting the two of them. Chester ran into the time vault, and then one of the Godspeed clones bust through the time vault, and he ran up on Chester in the time vault because Chester had found out, because when Chester went in the time vault, he was talking to Gideon, and then he told Gideon, he was like, yo, I was trying to upload something throughout the sound speakers in Central City, but then Gideon was just like, oh, would you just like me to run it through Star Labs since all the Godspeeds are in Star Labs? And he was like, yeah, crank that bad boy. So she cranked it. It took them out temporarily. The Flash and the gang, they were able to fight them, but then the one Godspeed clone that bust through the time vault, he destroyed Gideon, and then, that stopped the whole sound thing, and now the Godspeed clones are back. So then Barry at that point, he was just like, well, shit, if that's the case, he's like, if I'm gonna go out swinging. He was like, bring it on, you all white sons of bitches, and then he ran out of Star Labs. All the Godspeed clones chased him out of Star Labs, and then they met up in Town Square. So then Barry was surrounded by Godspeed clones. All the Godspeed clones beat his ass, and while they're actually trying to suck out his power, and while they were trying to suck out his energy, 6 more Godspeed clones showed up. So I'm like, wow, Barry's really about to die. But instead of the 6 Godspeed Force clones attacking Barry, the 6 of them attacked the 6 Godspeed clones that were attacking Barry. And then they were all fighting each other. And then everybody got into this huge fight with each other. And then they destroyed, like the 6 ones that came, destroyed the ones that were fighting Barry. And then the others disappeared. And then Barry was like, what the F is going on around here? And then he said, come to find out, these Godspeed clones, he said that, because whoever's creating these Godspeeds, he created, let's say like he created 6 robots. And then now those 6 robots went rogue and decided to do their own thing. He created 6 more robots. So now the ones that went rogue are trying to take down like the previous ones. He's like, there's a civil war between Godspeed clones and Central City's caught in the middle of it. My guess is because there is a civil war between the Godspeeds, the ones that were in our episode the most, they were trying to suck up the Flash's speed to use the Flash's speed and his power against the other 6. But there's a reason why there's a Godspeed clone war, and we'll obviously find that out as the season progresses. So then, but that was it. But they were just like, yo, if there's a Godspeed war coming, then we need all hands on deck because we got to prepare ourselves. And then like I said, like Allegra's Esperanza surgery went okay, and then Killer Frost and the boyfriend, they shared a kiss, and then he did something, he blew up something to distract her or whatever, and then when Killer Frost turned her back, like he dipped and ran out of Star Labs. So that was that whole thing. And then in the final scene, then Flash and Cecile, they were both sitting down, they were both talking. Barry actually saw the results of the pregnancy test, and the results said that the pregnancy test was negative, and that Iris wasn't pregnant. So then Barry was just like, I don't understand what happened. He was like, I had the dream with Nora, and I was just like, yeah, that was Nora telling you the test is gonna come up negative, but don't worry because everything's supposed to work out. Everything's gonna work out the way it's supposed to. Like, AKA, just calm down. It's gonna happen. And then Cecile tried to console him, and then he's trying to think about like what's gonna happen like going forward. And then finally, the whole thing with Kramer and Joe, they ended up tracking down Kramer's former best friend, former, family member. They tracked him down to his house, and then the 2 of them were sitting in the car. And while the 2 of them were sitting in the car, all of a sudden, like this blue wave of light started coming towards the car. And then, Kramer told Joe, she was like, get out of the car. The 2 of them opened the doors to get out of the car, but then the car exploded, and I didn't see any bodies anywhere around them. So I don't know what happened with, I can't call that one. I don't think Joe's dead because I just saw that he signed to be on season 8 of The Flash. So unless he's coming back as a ghost or in flashbacks, I mean, honestly, I don't think they're dead. Maybe somebody saved them at the last second, but this is getting pretty interesting, and I kind of want to know who this dude is now, that Kramer's been hunting. Maybe Kramer's creating him in her own mind, like we don't know, but it's definitely some interesting stuff, and it's something good for Joe to do too. So I like where this whole thing is headed, and I want to continue to see where it's going. So thank you for tuning in. I forget who it was. Someone told me on YouTube, they said that Bart Allen and Nora is supposed to pop up in episode 17. So we have 2 episodes more to go. I saw that on next week's episode, Diggle shows up again. So, he made the rounds. He did Batwoman, he did Legends of Tomorrow, and now he's doing The Flash. So we just need him to pop up on Superman and Lois now, because Diggle flat out said in the series finale of Arrow, he was moving to Metropolis. So I need Dig in Central City, and I need Dig with the ring. But I saw that he puts the Spartan costume on, so we'll see. We'll see if we get a Green Lantern tease, with Big Dig, So, and then after the drama with that is over, so then we get the kids that come in, and everything will be cool. So thank you for tuning in. Share your thoughts below. Let me know what you thought about this episode of The Flash. Let me know what you think about this Godspeed war of the speedsters, how all this ties in. We obviously know that the forces, like the Strength Force, the Psych Force, the Time Force, they're gonna pop up in the season finale to help take down Godspeed, along with Nora and Bart. It's going to be this whole big family affair, but I definitely want to see where this whole thing goes and how it all plays out. Check me out on Instagram. Check me out on Twitter as always on YouTube, where you can leave your questions, comments, and or concerns, and we'll keep speeding right through all the way till the end of the season of The Flash. Thanks for tuning in, guys. So until next week, where hopefully Iris comes back, take care, and for the Speed Force, and for the God of Speed, I'm out this bitch!